In this video, you will learn how the United States imposed the dollar on the world and why it became the petrodollar. While Second World War was going on and all of Europe was overrun by Hitler and actually working for his war machine, and the USR was fighting a grueling war with Nazi Germany, the United States economy got a serious boost because America was supplying both warring parties with its products. The war was not yet over, but the US was already concerned about getting its hands on world finance. They organized the Bretton Woods Conference. The conference was attended by 730 delegates from 44 countries, members of the anti-Hitler coalition. The aim of the conference was the development of international monetary and financial relations at the end of Second World War. At the conference, key decisions for the world were made, and the Bretton Woods financial system with the same name was established, the international system of monetary relations and trade, which was incredibly favorable. First of all, for the United States leadership, and canceled the old system, based on the principles of gold standard. A monetary system based on this principle implies that the government, which issued paper banknotes, guarantees to exchange them for a corresponding amount of gold on demand. Under this system, the government cannot print money not backed by gold at its own discretion. I will mention only two key principles of the Bretton Woods system. The price of gold is rigidly fixed at $35 per troy ounce. It's about 31 gram. American dollar was the currency convertible into gold. Became the basis of currency parity, the predominant means of international payments, currency interventions, and reserve assets. The U.S. national currency became simultaneously the world money. Before Bretton Woods system, the world money was gold, with many international contracts using the British pound for settlement. In fact, this led to the emergence of the dollar standard between the people's monetary system based on the domination of the dollar. In 1938, American gold reserve was 13,000 tons. In 1945, 17,700 tons. And in 1949, it was 20. An absolute record. 70% of the world's gold reserves at that time, so the US dollar became the world's main reserve currency. True, they did it all the same under the guarantee of their gold reserve. This is a new order of calculation in which the currencies of the states that joined the system were pegged to the dollar and the United States currency itself to gold. It was announced to everyone that any country could freely exchange dollars for gold at a specified fixed rate at any time. Naturally, America didn't suppose that some country would suddenly ask to exchange dollars for gold and began to print them in the necessary quantity for its economy, without regard to its gold reserve. And everything was going fine for the US, until the French President Charles de Gaulle, realizing the destructiveness of this system for Europe, wanted to break it. He tried to impose a financial scramble on America. As early as February 1965, at a press conference with the world media, the Frenchman explicitly declared his intention to challenge the dollar domination, saying that he could present no other standard for the monetary system than gold directly, which caused a world sensation. Despite threats and bickering, the US was forced to honor its commitments by obtaining dollars and issuing gold to the French. The process began and lasted until the end of the year, during which the first tranche of $1.5 billion exchanged for gold was followed by others, or that France was left with only $800 million out of the $5 billion existing at the beginning of the process. The Germans, Japanese, Canadians, and others followed the French, as a result of which the gold reserve of the United States was radically emptied, dropping to an extremely low level in the opinion of the United States authorities. They understood that it was a bad business because they had printed a great deal of paper dollars, and on August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon canceled the gold backing of the dollar. Why did the United States do this? After a very short time, all the countries who had accumulated a huge amount of dollars would simply buy out the entire gold reserve of the United States. And what would that have led to? That the US dollars would cease to be the world's reserve currency because there would be no collateral behind them. Of course, dollars would continue to be used in trade with the United States, but trade for dollars between other countries would be greatly reduced. And in addition, the central banks around the world would cease to accumulate large amounts of US currency in their foreign exchange reserves for lack of use. Can you imagine what a celebration of life this is? A budget deficit, not enough taxes collected, not a problem. Treasuries, and a private office called the Federal Reserve System prints dollars almost without limit and uses them to buy those notes. In this unsophisticated way, the US government gets money out of thin air and can set high salaries for its citizens and high pensions for retirees. American citizens spend this money in their stores, and shopkeepers, in turn, buy the goods the United States citizens need on the dollar of any country in the world. So it turns out that in order to buy the necessary goods on the world market, the United States can simply print money or make it even easier, create it on a computer in the form of a binary code on an account. So why? After that, did the countries of the world continue to use US currency, which was no longer backed by gold? After the dollar was decoupled from gold, it began to depreciate smoothly. The United States faced the task of forcing other countries to accumulate the dollar in their foreign reserves and to use it in international trade in order to have all the advantages that I have described. This is where the US pulled another trick. Nixon made an agreement with Saudi Arabia that all energy contracts would be denominated in dollars in exchange for the supply of American arms and provided security guarantees, including from Israel. And in 1975, the entire OPEC organization agrees to sell its oil exclusively in US dollars. As a result of these agreements, the United States replaced the Bretton Woods system of pegging the dollar to gold with the petrodollar standard. And this allowed them not only to maintain the demand for dollars, but to increase it, because the demand for oil in the world began to grow rapidly. The petrodollar is a sphere of demand. You have to buy dollars to settle contracts. A petrodollar is the standard on which the strength of the United States dollar is based. After that, in 1976, it was accepted the Yamal monetary system, modern international monetary system in which the exchange rates are set not by the state, but by the market, and they do not have any reference to gold or to anything else. The following currencies were recognized as reserve ones: dollar, pound sterling, Swiss francs, Japanese yen, and 2 more currencies: Mark of Germany, French France, which later became euro. After that, all restrictions on the ability of the United States to release its main product were lifted. The dollar was laid a solid foundation and continued to be not just a world reserve currency, but the main means of payment between countries and a means of saving for central banks all over the world. The dollar is freely convertible in any state. And not only oil is bought and sold for it, but also the vast majority of goods on the world market. You might ask, so what gives America this advantage in real terms? America already has a budget deficit of over $1 trillion a year, and last year's trade deficit was $630 billion. So the problem of the U.S. is not in their military capacity, but in the dominant position of their currency, and they have every interest in maintaining the current position in the global financial system. This is tantamount to their survival, so the attempts of other rulers to challenge the power of the dollar are severely suppressed, and the insolent are punished demonstrably. For if the world were to abandon the dollar, the United States would face a terrible crisis that would not only destroy its military machine and economy, but would also leave its science without brilliant scientists from other countries.